Um, I looked at Division II, Division III, NAIA schools. I actually started at a Division II school that went to Division III at Springfield College before I went back
Okay.
to junior college. So, um, yeah, I just think that there's a lot of great people out there doing a lot of great things, and they deserve some notoriety. Or we think that, not just me. So,
No, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you couldn't really say any better. I mean, that's kind of the reason me and my brother started our podcast, D3 Nation, just to get kind of D3 wrestling stories out there, coaches, athletes, kind of get them the exposure they need for like all the hard work they put in. And yeah, like you said, there's a lot of good stuff going on outside of D1 and Power 5 conferences. So yeah,
absolutely.
any exposure is good exposure. I'm blessed to be on here with you guys and the opportunity to talk to some wrestling and just sports in general and get Fairmont State's name out there. I mean, we're still a younger program. We just got reinstated kind of when you started your podcast, actually. And then I was the third head coach in 3 years, so there was a lot of turnover until I got there, and now I just wrapped up year 3 of Fairmont State, and we're doing a lot of good things. I'm excited for the future of the program.
Sweet. Well, let's get into it.
Uh,
Ladies and gentlemen, howdy and aloha. We are here, you are there, and we greatly appreciate you joining us this evening for another episode of ABR. Tonight, we're stepping back on the mat. We're going belly to belly with Coach Gennaro Bonaventura of Fairmont State University. But before we get rolling, y'all know the drill. Make sure you are subscribed. Give this episode a thumbs up. Please drop a comment. Every view, review, and share helps us grow and give back to the sport we love. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And let's not forget our sponsors on this episode and every episode. We are fueled by CS Instant Coffee and Black Sheep Endurance for all your coaching needs. Let's not forget, while we're doing this over here at Airey Bros Radio, we are here to shine a light on the program's coaches we wish we had access to coming up. If you or someone you know is looking for the right fit at the next level, please share this episode with them. On to tonight's guest, Coach Bonaventura. He's in his third year, just finished his third year at Fairmont State University. He has an overall 24-27 record. He's a two-time MEC third place team finishes, which is a program best. NCAA Division II national qualifier both seasons. He's a former Waynesburg coach with NCAA champ Jake Evans and multiple All-Americans. Wrestlers, parents, coaches, pull up a seat. Let's go live with Coach Gennaro Bonaventura. Coach, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you joining us this evening. We do greatly appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited, talk some wrestling with you guys.
Awesome. We are excited as well, too. And before we get too far into it, as we were talking, you have a podcast. So if you want to promote that, if you have any camps coming up at the university, anywhere you would like us to send recruits on social media, or if you have a questionnaire or anything, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so for our podcast, D3 Nation, we're on all platforms. I'm assuming same as yours, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Pretty much you can find anywhere D3 Nation, and we're just on Twitter. We usually just post the links there. And then with Fairmont State Wrestling, we're very active on Instagram, FSU Wrestle, and on Facebook we have a page, Fairmont State Wrestling. Pretty much all the content is on there from the season, the accolades we had, recap of the year, and some camps and clinics we have coming up. I actually have one tomorrow night in Greensburg, PA. They'll be like the first one kick off the summer, and then I'll be traveling a little bit. I'll head to New York. I'll go up to Cortland University. I know the head coach there really well. We'll be out there for a weekend, and we kind of travel a little bit in the summer, do some satellite camps, and just kind of get the good name out there. And it helps with recruiting a lot. And excited, for the summer to give back to the sport that's given me a lot.
Awesome. We will put all that stuff in the show notes for you as well, too. Coach, how we like to kick it off here, we like to make the world a little bit smaller, both with our guests, but then also for our fans. We had Coach Jerry Boland on not too long ago before NCAAs kicked off. He's also a Jersey guy, so we connected with him, had a great conversation with him. And then after he got back from nationals and we were talking, congratulating him and whatnot, he mentioned your name. He said you would be a great guest to have on the show. So here we are.
Yeah, yeah. Jerry's a great guy. I don't know if it got brought up in the conversation at all. Me and him have known each other for a while now. We're partners on D2 wrestling rankings committee. So how that works is, every month, me and him have to rank the region, and then we are the two main components for a region to get every kid in our region, does not just from Fairmont State or Millersville, like UPJ, Seton Hill. We have their backs and try to get them ranked in the country, and then that at the end of the year goes to national seeding. So we've built a really good relationship outside of just competing because we're in the same region. We talk a lot of wrestling. He's a great guy, and I appreciate all his guidance and mentorship. I'm a young head coach as well, so yeah, Jerry's a great dude. Can't thank him enough.
Yeah, we had a blast talking with him. We had that Jersey connection, and he's got an
Mhm.
incredible story too of being a high school coach, being an
Uh,
administrator, then being out of the sport, being a
right.
referee, and then for a lot of people like myself who dream about getting back into college coaching, for him to make that happen it's an incredible story, and it's great to
Yeah.
see him doing great things in Millersville.
Yeah, for sure. And then actually, he got his start back in the college wrestling in the great state of West Virginia too. He
That's
was at
right.
Davis and Elkins and did a great job starting up that program before he left for Millersville. Davis and Elkins is in our conference for wrestling. So he actually was just transitioning out as I was transitioning into Fairmont State. But it just so happens Millersville's in our region. And then, like I said, we're on the rankings committee together. So the relationship kind of just stuck and kind of went from there. So he's doing amazing things. Millersville's going to be they had a good young team this year that, bringing in some good recruits. They're going to be pretty tough again next year.
Yeah, he's got that Jersey pipeline we always love to
Yeah,
talk about.
yeah, for sure. It's a good pipeline to have. Those boys know how to wrestle. New Jersey
They sure
wrestling's
do.
good for sure.
We always like to joke and say there's probably more wrestling clubs in New Jersey than there are Starbucks.
Yeah, it probably is. Which is for the state and for kids that love wrestling, it's great for the state. Really
Yeah,
is.
no doubt.
Coach, so before we dive into wrestling and your origin story, I want to know, you still undefeated in pickleball against the wrestlers?
I am. I am. So that's a funny thing, like, how it goes with traveling, and we drive vans a lot, so we always talk, and they started pickleball up pretty seriously at the school, and the guys were like, have you ever played? I'm like, yeah, I hold my own pretty good. And they're like, oh, we'll kill you, coach. We'll smoke you. And then we started a challenge. I started playing them 2v1, and they still have never beat me, so it's nice to have the upper hand on them with that. But I've been playing pickleball now for about 5 years, so I have a little head start on them. But like you always say, you don't judge a book by its cover. They think I'm a little out of shape, so they can beat me, but I can still move a little bit. And pickleball is a great game. I actually was just playing last night. I enjoy playing on my downtime.
Do you prefer that over golf?
No, I'll rather be on the links playing for sure.
Okay.
Pickleball's a little cheaper though. You don't have to pay for 18 with a cut.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I like being on the links. Obviously playing with my dad and stuff. And actually, I started playing that a lot during pickleball and during COVID. All you could do is be outside with golf and pickleball. So, but no, yeah, I really enjoy playing golf. It's a lot of fun.
Right on.
Is there much of a crowd at the pickleball courts? We've got two here in town, and they're packed all the time.
Yeah, it's grown a lot. I mean, obviously since COVID, it's got bigger, but I'm part of like a group, like two groups over here with 400 plus people in both. So like whenever you
Yeah.
want to play over here, like the courts can get filled pretty quick. We had open like they've been doing Monday nights now, and we had like 6 courts with like 36 people there, like waiting to play. So it's growing everywhere. It's kind of crazy. I know it's getting popular everywhere. But no, yeah, it's you stay busy with it for sure.
I like to say it's the second fastest growing sport in America behind women's wrestling.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it is. It is because like anyone could do it. Like I play with some older people that smoke me. Like they're good. I play with some females that are really good. Like doesn't matter. I think that's why it's great. Like everyone can be somewhat competitive in it and figure it out. So I think that's why it's grown so much.
Right on.
Coach, so one thing we like to do, we like to see how the coaches we're talking to, how they got into the sport and how they got into coaching. I know you got a twin brother and then an older brother. Is that how you kind of got into wrestling? Was your brothers?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a twin, and he's the head wrestling coach at Stevens Tech, which is in Hoboken, New Jersey. And then I have a brother that was a year older. than me and my brother. So we kind of always played sports against stuff. But actually, I have another brother that's 10 years older than us. And he's one that really got us into wrestling. My dad was like a basketball player, baseball coach, football coach kind of guy. And my brother kind of got into wrestling. His buddies did it. And then we had a pretty good youth program where I grew up called Hop Hog High School, one of the better programs on Long Island and actually throughout the state of New York. So really blessed and lucky to grow up through that. A lot of places don't have sometimes great feeder programs or little league programs. So had a lot of fun with that. Had a really good youth coach named Coach Clackett. He did a good job with that group. He actually kind of still helps out when he can. And kind of just went through like that. And then it kind of just stuck. And, for me with wrestling, it never really like me as a wrestling coach now, like when I was growing up, I was always big into football. So it's kind of funny that I'm a college wrestling coach now. I actually played basketball my freshman year of high school. A lot of people don't know. I was trying to switch the trend in my family. My dad was a basketball player. My brother still did it, but I was playing basketball. But our high school program was so good, like always ranked top 5 in the state. And, I had a pretty good youth and middle school career, and all my buddies were like, you got to get back on the mat. So then after that, I got back on that my sophomore year, and then went to, went back out and struggled a little bit at first. I was taking the year off my first year, but ended up, doing some good things on the mat. And, but then I was going to play college football. Didn't think I was going to wrestle in college either. I was going to play football. My brother was wrestling at Waynesburg University, and kind of how it is with college wrestling. It's always tougher to find more athletic, bigger guys, and they needed some depth. And they asked me to come out for the team after football, and just kind of fell in love with the culture and the program. Won my wrestle off, and haven't looked back since. And it's been the best decision I ever made, obviously, because now I'm coaching the best sport in the world.
Coach, did you play football while you were wrestling, or did you just give up and go right to all in on wrestling at that point?
So throughout my whole college career, I did have an injury my sophomore year, but for 4 years I did 2 sports. I played football and I wrestled. And then for my 5th year, when I had my medical red shirt, I just wrestled that year. I didn't play football, and I think that helped a lot with my success on the mat that year. It's tough with college football because, in high school there's like a little bit of a break, and unless your team makes a big playoff run, you kind of have a little break, and then you get in the wrestling. In college, you miss like the first half of the year about with football, how it works. So it is tough, but I met, amazing coaches, amazing friends in college football, had a great experience. And if I had to do it over again, I would do both. Kept me busy. I had a lot of fun because I went from football to wrestling to, a little bit of a break, and then riding the spring ball. So I was always busy. That structure helped me in school, kept me busy, and helped me stay focused in the classroom as well.
And we're big about multi-sport athletes over here, especially in the high school.
Love it.
I graduated in '94, and I think that was kind of as the multi-sport athletes started to fade away, and then you started to see people specializing
Yeah.
a lot younger. And through when Jimmy is, I think we're starting to see a little bit of a swing back to some multi-sport athletes.
Yeah.
As a multi-sport athlete and as a college coach, can you speak to that about that a little bit, and then also how that can increase an athlete's marketability, and or how you might see a multi-sport athlete like yourself and say, well, he's not necessarily wrestling all year round. If we get him wrestling all year round, he's going to jump some levels.
Right, exactly. I think you said really good there. I mean, for me, I always like seeing kids do multiple sports. One, I think it helps with the burnout. You see a lot of burnout now. I think doing multiple sports gets rid of that. Like, you get different coaches, different teammates sometimes, different feel. And you have some fun. I mean, I'll be honest, like wrestling is one of the toughest sports out there. So after wrestling season, you go and play baseball, it's a little more relaxing, have a little more fun. And then, then you get the itch to kind of get back on the mat. So, and I see both sides of it. I've seen guys with a lot of success just specializing in one sport, but it's very tough on the body, especially at wrestling, combat wise, head to head and stuff like that. But personally, I love it. I mean, we got a recruit coming in this year who's a stud athlete. He's a quarterback. He was a very good wrestler. He just actually played baseball his senior year, hasn't played in a couple of years, and he bat over 300. And I think a kid like that, like you said, if we just get him focusing on wrestling, get him on the mat, I think he's going to even jump levels and be kind of like a late bloomer in college. So I always looking for athletic types. And I think it goes a long way. I think it helps you with every sport too. It helps you. Different sports help you with footwork, hand-eye coordination. I mean, I can't tell you how many wrestlers I recruited over the years that were football players. The translation, the correlation with both sports, with the physicality goes a long way. And I think it's great. I think, the more the merrier. If you could do it all, do it all. Have fun with it. You only live once. And I think it's great. It doesn't affect me recruiting. Like if I'm recruiting a kid and you do multiple sports, I like it. Like it doesn't turn me off. I know everyone has like different kind of tactics in recruiting, but I think it's great if you do multiple sports. I think it helps you in so many ways.
Coach, going to college, not thinking you were going to play football, and then at one point you became the head coach of the college you went to. How'd that happen?
Well, like I said, I fell in love with the sport. Like just like I had great coaches in college, Coach Ron Headley and Coach John Yates. They're both in the PA Wrestling Hall of Fame. They did a great job with the program, the culture. I made great friends, and I kind of just fell in love with the sport in college. I just saw how hard it was, and how like it taught me so many great life lessons, and how those coaches coach is how I wanted to coach. And, I had great mentors throughout my whole life. I had a Coach Messina he's still at Hop Hog High School. He's in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Just had great mentors all my life. And it's something like, I was like, I want to do this. And I was blessed with to get the graduate assistantship job at Waynesburg University, kind of get my master's degree, and even fell more in love with coaching. I didn't know like if I was going to, per se, coach the rest of my life. But that made me really want, after those 2 years, it made me like, okay, this is something I want to do. Because during those years when I was a GA, we had a lot of success. And obviously, I coached a national champ. And honestly, for me, that was like one of the best feelings I ever had, just watching your athletes achieve their goals and succeed. I mean, there's not a better feeling. And it's something I want to do. I just want to mold men into, not just great wrestlers, but great men. And I feel like I've been doing that so far in my career.
And then you went to Fairmont State, and you said they had two other coaches before you, I believe, and
Yeah.
they didn't stay very long, but you're kind of there building a program. What do you think the difference is with what you're doing now?
I think when the program started back up, sometimes when you start it back up, it's a little rushed. And they don't really, they say they don't have really the guarantees and the stuff that you want to do right away. And I think with the one coach that got there, he had a great opportunity. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the program Lander. It's one of the top D2 wrestling programs. They're
Yep.
very good. So he
Coach
was the
R.C.
he
LaHaye.
Yes, he's done a great job there. So Chris Friesi was the coach at Fairmont State. He left after a year as he got the associate head coaching job at Lander, and he was really good friends with that head coach, and they've done a great job building that program. Now, Coach Friesi actually left there, and he's coaching back home by him, where he's originally from Arizona, New Mexico area. He's at New Mexico Highlands. So I think it just kind of like, I don't know if the timing, it didn't look great, but like he really couldn't pass the opportunity because he knew Lander could turn into a beast, and he wanted to be a part of it. And then with Colin Johnston, he coached the national champ actually at Fairmont State, and he left for Limestone, which was another good opportunity for him. And I think they just kind of had the resources available to them at those schools, where at Fairmont State it's taken a little more time to build that up. And I came from a D3 program, so I knew already, like, all right, with D3 you really don't get anything. D2 I had a little bit of something, with that. I do have some athletic scholarship, and we're also a state school, so I knew I could make that work. And I already had a lot of good recruiting ties in the area, and it's kind of just stuck. And I was already living in Morgantown, so instead of going a half hour north to Waynesburg University, I'm just going a half hour south to Fairmont State, and just really hit the ground running. I was lucky to have an assistant coach stay on staff with me at Fairmont State. His name is John Ferens. He did a really good job recruiting. They brought in a pretty good class, and those kids really bought in and kind of laid the foundation. And we haven't looked back, and we're doing some good things now.
So you mentioned getting the focus on the recruiting and the local recruits. No, you're not too far from PA. You got a bunch of PA kids on the team too. What's it
I
kind of
wouldn't
look
say
like?
I wouldn't say a bunch. I would say majority of the rosters West Virginia kids. We do dip into the Whippy a little bit. We're not too far from that border. Actually, our current best wrestler is from Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. His name's Colton Stone King. He was like my first big commit and get I got in recruiting. He was originally at George Mason University. Didn't work out. He wanted to come back home, and Fairmont State's only like 45 minutes from Waynesburg, and right on that Whippy border. And he's done great things. He was actually just All-American for us this year. He's done amazing things on and off the mat. He's a 4.0 student, and has really been a great face for our program and helped lead us to new heights. So we actually have a couple more Waynesburg kids coming in next year. And we that Whippeal area, I mean, you can't really beat it. That's one of the best recruiting areas, not just over here, but in the country. I mean, you got kids going D1 everywhere. So just getting in that area helps a lot. And then we're border Maryland, we border Ohio, so we're in a great recruiting area to really attack these kids. And as we keep getting better, our name keeps getting out there, we'll kind of get more of these blue chip recruits and keep building off it.
Coach, what did you call that little area there? Usually we call it Jersey. We call it like a panhandle. What did you call it?
I just said recruiting area.
No, did you say like Whippeal or something?
Oh
That's
yeah, the
that's
That-
whip.
Pennsylvania.
Yes, the Whippeal. That is
It's like Region
Western.
6.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
think it's Region
gotcha.
6 or 7. Yeah, it's like all the Pittsburgh area schools.
Okay,
And double A and triple A. I mean, if you look at D1, the D1 landscape, a lot of All Americans, national
okay.
champs. I mean, Penn State's had a ton over the years from that area. It's a great recruiting, great recruiting area for sure.
Gotcha. Well, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity in the state of West Virginia for athletes to continue their college wrestling careers if they want to. I mean, we had Coach Cotterill from Glenville State on. You mentioned Coach Bowen was at Davis and Elkins. You got a D1 program in West Virginia. I think there's
Hmm.
some NAIA schools in there as
West
well too.
Liberty.
West Liberty. We had
Yeah, West Liberty's done some really good things. Coach Irwin has really built a juggernaut over there. So Glenville State and West Liberty are the premier teams in our conference. They're usually top 10, top 15 teams. Uh, Coach Cottrell, like you said, he's done a great job. They're a pretty young program themselves. And they had a great year this year, really good year, and they're going to be just as good next year. He's done a great job there, and really helps us as a program competing with these teams because it shows, hey, if you want to beat the best, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And we get these guys on the schedule. We see them at the conference tournament, and it's really helped us in a lot of ways. It's funny because they're in our conference, but not in our region. Our region kind of split. Our conference splits into two. So, Frostburg State, another startup program out of Maryland. They're doing really good things as well. They're going into year 3, so they're with us, and Wheeling, they're with us in Super Region 1, which with all the PSEC schools, which UPJ, Millersville, Gannon, East Stroudsburg, Shippensburg, all those schools. And then Glenville State and West Liberty and the rest of our conference, they're in the Super Region 3, which is all the Ohio, Michigan schools. It's interesting how don't ask me why it's like that. I have no idea, but that's how it goes. So we have a good mix of West Virginia and a PA, and I think it's really helped us with our success over the years because we got to get these guys on the schedule for conference seeding, regional seeding, and even national seeding. So it goes a long way.
Yeah, it seems just like there's a lot of opportunities for kids coming out of West Virginia. I feel like West Virginia maybe gets a little slept on when it comes to high school wrestling and the conversation of who's tough and who's got great kids. But man, there's a lot of opportunity in West Virginia for kids to wrestle for sure.
Yeah, no, it's great. When I was originally at Waynesburg, I didn't really recruit that hard in the state of West Virginia just because it's so cheap for kids in state to stay in state. So really recruiting right now, I compete against West Liberty, WVU, Glenville State, West Virginia Tech's another one, Davis and Elkins and Wheeling. And there's so many at Bluefield State. There's so many options in the state, like you said. And you're right, West Virginia is slept on. There's some really good kids that don't really get recruited. That helps us in a lot of ways. But there's some, some blue chippers that get slept on, and they come D2 and they do some really good things right away because they could be D1 kids. They don't get recruited. The state doesn't get recruited as hard as it should. Sometimes it gets, like you said, slept on. And the kids, don't travel as much to the bigger tournaments as other states would. So I think that's why it gets even more slept on. But I love it. I hit the state hard. We got a bunch of state champs and state placers coming in next year. We got a pretty good recruiting class coming in within the state.
Nice. Coach, you wrestled and played football Division III. You coached Division III. Now you're coaching Division II. Is there a lot of difference between the NCAA Division III and Division III in terms of coaching and what you can do, what you can't do, what you can offer, what you can't offer?
Yeah, so the biggest difference, the state school helps just 'cause it's a little cheaper than private schools, but obviously D2 you can offer athletic scholarship. D3 it's more academic scholarship. They have grants and financial aid to help. So I would say in that aspect that's like the biggest difference. But I've been to the D3 national tournament many times, and I've been to the D2 national tournament now for the past 3 years, and the competition is just as good. They both very high levels. You have your hammers here and hammers there, but we see a lot of D3 teams throughout the season with their competitive schedule. Just with our budget, we see there's just so many D3 teams now. There's almost 130 across the country. I think D2 we might be a little north of 70. So it's D2 is actually growing a lot as well. I've seen both sides, but I've seen a lot of studs D3 that will do well and D2. So it's with wrestling itself, it's the closest in competition where like you see D2, D3, D1, NAI, and JUCO. The best of the best, they can scrap with the best of the best across the country. Now the depth's not there with each division, but it's really not. I mean, any opportunity to compete at the next level, you got to go get it. And it's a great opportunity. It's a great experience if you find you find the right school with your major and culture, and it sets you up for life pretty much.
Yeah.
Coach, talking about finding the right school for your major and the culture, tell us a little bit about Fairmont State. What majors does Fairmont State offer? What are the top ones there? And tell us a little bit about the campus itself.
Yeah, so the Fairmont State pretty much has every major that you can think of. I mean, it's incredible how many academic majors they have. The two I know off the top of my head that we really don't have that's pretty popular are sports management and athletic training. But we just substitute that with exercise science and business management. A real popular major that the guys do is national securities. A lot of schools don't offer it, and we have an FBI center actually pretty close to campus, so a lot of kids intern there and do really good things. That's a real popular major within our program. Nursing's usually very big at the school as well, and they also offer physical education to be a gym teacher. So that's kind of the majors you kind of see. Business is obviously a big one as well. The campus itself, we're actually the third largest state school in West Virginia. So it goes WVU, Marshall, and then Fairmont State. We're like a little north of 3,000 students. It's not too big of a campus though. It's pretty easy to get around. It's a little uphill, downhill. Great facilities for a D2 school. The Falcons Center is like the main student hub. I mean, you name it, they have it. They have a Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, convenience store, cafeteria is great. A lot of seating, 2 indoor gyms, an indoor track, weight room, pool, hot tub, and sauna all in one building. I mean, that's one of our main, selling points in recruiting. A lot of schools don't offer that. And within the state of West Virginia, we're a pretty easy campus to get to. A lot of schools in West Virginia, you got to take some back roads to get to campus. With us, we're right off the 79 interstate. So that helps a lot in a lot of ways. And overall, a very good competitive athletic department. We have great coaches and admins at the school that really support athletics, and they want to do well. And like I said, we're in a great area to succeed, and just had a new president, and he's just wrapping up year 2, and he's, a huge supporter of athletics. He actually was at the conference championships this year when Colin Stone King was our first conference champ in program history. So that was a very cool moment to share with him, and just having that support and, the resources around us. I mean, there's no doubt we can have a bright future, on and off the mat. But yeah, great little campus. If you're ever in the area, you gotta come check it out for sure.
You had me at
Absolutely.
sauna.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like the Falcon Center, like the Falcon Center and the Feaster Center, those are the two main, like, our athletic facilities. The Feaster Center has a gym, the main weight room for student athletes, athletic training room, coaches' offices, and the wrestling room. And then the Falcon Center is like a 2-minute walk from there. So it's great, easy to get around, and the kids love it.
Coach, when the guys aren't during the season or not traveling, are they staying on campus during the weekend, or is there stuff to do in town?
Yeah, I mean, we're, like I said, we're a half hour from Morgantown, West Virginia. So, a lot of guys head up there. I mean, there's stuff to do in town. Bridgeport's also a very nice area in West Virginia to do some stuff. But honestly, once school's rolling, we keep them busy. We keep them busy. We train them pretty hard, and we do a Spartan race every year for team bonding. We do tailgates and team bonding stuff. So we really, and then especially once the season's rolling, I mean, we're pretty busy every Saturday, every weekend except for Thanksgiving weekend and Christmas. We're pretty busy until March. College wrestling's a grind. I mean, these kids work hard. They compete a lot. But I think that's what they want to do. They're in college for a reason. They want the experience. They want to compete. They want to, get out there. And we're lucky. We're the location where we can pretty much travel 2 to 3 hours any which direction and get good competition in. So it really helps a lot with our budget. As with smaller schools, you can't really travel across country. So we're very lucky where we're at. But yeah, no, there's plenty to do down here if you want to do it.
So, Coach, you just finished your third season, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So you told us how it started, how you were still building. How's it going? Is it on plan, or are you where you wanted to be when you took the job?
To be honest, I think we're a little ahead of schedule. I think we're a little ahead of schedule. When I took over the program, we had 3 or 4 returners, and then the rest were freshmen. The rest were freshmen, and in 3 years prior to me getting the Fairmont State, we only had like 5 dual meet wins. I just wrapped up year 3, and we're at 34 dual meet wins. So I think in that aspect we come a long way. We had a national qualifier every year since I've been here, which is great. I thought, it was going to take a little more time, but just goes to show you, if you put the work in, you believe in something, anything is possible. And I'm really excited for next year. Like I said, we're going to have a recruiting class between 18 to 20 kids. A lot of talent, adding to about 20 kids on the team. Our roster is going to be close to 40, which is the biggest roster we'll have. There'll be a lot of great competitions in the room. Iron sharpens iron. So going to be some really good battles, good wrestle offs, and I think that just makes us better as a whole. I think our depth's finally getting where it should be to compete with some of these better teams. I think we have some weights where we were already there. We can compete, but I think with all 10 weights next year, we should be able to battle a lot better than we have in the past. So I'm excited to see how this recruiting class comes in and works, and how these upperclassmen, lead them and kind of show them the standard of what we're trying to do. And I think it's going to be, exciting year 4.
And what's the 5-year plan? What are we looking at the Landers and the Nebraska Carnies and those sorts of things? Is that the ultimate goal? I mean, I know as wrestlers, we're always like, we got to get better, we got to work harder, we got to get, even sometimes
Yeah.
when you're winning, you're not super stoked. But long-term vision, are we going to see some multiple West Virginia teams on the top of the podium here in a couple
That's
years?
the goal. I mean, at first, the first step is, we got to catch Glenville and West Liberty within our conference. They've been the standard, so it's a really good measuring stick. And then within our region, UPJ is a juggernaut.
Hmm.
I'm actually very good friends with their head coach, Tyler Reinhart. He's took over for the legendary Papakor, and they haven't missed a beat. He's been there. He knows the standard. He's doing a great job there. So we got to catch them. And then Gannon's going to have a really good team next year. And then all those PSAC teams. So we got to start there first. And then as we start climbing the ladder, then, yeah, when we get to nationals, obviously the St. Cloud States, Nebraska Kearneys, Lander, all those, better Parkside. Those are the ones you got to beat to reach your goals. So yeah, that year 5, it's definitely go. I mean, I think we're going to be young, but we're going to test our guys. We have a pretty tough schedule next year. We're going to the Midwest Classic, which I'm sure you guys heard about. That'll be our first time out there, so I think that'll be a great measuring stick for us as a program to see how we compete out there. Stone King should be, knock on wood, should be a top 5 seed at the weight where he's competing at next year. And the rest, we'll see, there'll be draws, but hey, you got to go into it, say you're the bad draw and just compete and battle. And you'll see the best kids in the country, I guarantee you, because the Midwest Classic is probably tougher than D2 Nationals itself because the brackets are bigger. Everyone's there. Sometimes at Nationals, some kids are staying home, not qualifying because for D2 and D3 Nationals, it is super hard to qualify. I mean, it's just very hard. You gotta finish top 3. And sometimes if you have a bad weekend, hey, your season's over, unfortunately. There's no at-large bids, there's no wild cards. And so the Classic will be a great measuring stick for us. And I guess after that weekend, I can let you guys know how it goes from there. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back on to follow up. I'm curious, you mentioned how tough it is Division II, Division III, with just qualifying out of the regions and no wild cards and that sort of stuff. Do you think something like that would be more beneficial at the D1 level, or or vice versa at the Division II, Division III level if they had a qualifying like Division I where you're qualifying from your conference?
Yeah, I think this is a funny topic. Me and my brother always talk about it, obviously on our podcast, because we always think there should be more qualifiers. Now D3 finally did get more qualifiers. They're at a 21-man bracket. But it's funny with D2 and D3, they are the only wrestling national championships without 32-man brackets. It doesn't make any sense. Every other division, JUCO, NAIA, D1, you name it, they got. So I think we got to make the brackets bigger some way, somehow. Now, I know how it goes. They're D2 and D3, and the NCAA doesn't want to cough up the change to get those additional teams and qualifiers out to nationals. That's usually the money. It always comes down to money. But I feel like we need to find a way to get the brackets bigger for sure because there's too many good kids staying home. I mean, in our bracket alone this year, Colton Stone King, he was ranked um, top top 10 all year, but he could have had a bad weekend and not go. I mean, the kid that was ranked first in the country, he only had one loss going into regionals. He won the Midwest Classic. He didn't qualify, and he would have been the 1 seed at nationals. And just like that, your season's over. So I think we just got to find a way to make the brackets bigger for sure. It doesn't make any sense to me that qualifying for regionals is sometimes harder than placing at nationals. It doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah. That gentleman you're speaking of, Caden Henschel, he was a former guest of ours as well, too.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy. He's done a great job
Yeah.
promoting the
Love
sport,
him.
and I'm curious to see what he does now with it. I think hopefully he keeps doing his content. He's very popular, and that's unfortunately one example of it. I just remember because I had a qualifier at the weight. I'm following the weight very closely. The
Yeah.
next day I'm looking at all the regional brackets. I'm like, who are the qualifiers? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this kid didn't qualify for nationals. And it kind of actually helped our seeding. We were, probably looking at a 7 or 8. I think we ended up being seeded 5th. Outside of Henschel, there was a few other good kids that didn't make nationals. It's just so hard to qualify. I mean, actually, the national champ, the kid that we ended up losing to in the semis, he won an 11-9 match for 3rd and 4th to make nationals. So he almost didn't qualify himself, and then he turned out to be a national champ. So I think it's a topic of a discussion that needs to happen every year. We need to find ways to get the brackets bigger and get the best kids in the country to nationals.
Yeah.
Is that a conversation going on, or is that strictly the NCAA and them not wanting to pay?
So there's a few different committees. There's an NWCA committee, which is of the wrestling coaches within the division. There's a D1, there is a D2, and there's a D3, and those coaches meet, discuss this stuff, and then there's an NCAA Championships committee for each division. So those coaches and those committees vote on everything. That's like if you see with the votes with the rule changes and stuff. This topic of discussion is brought up every year. It's trying to find the right ways to do it, so it gets passed by NCAA. So that's why D3 just went to 21, because that was the first step. Eventually, maybe look at the 24, yada yada. So D2, we're trying to get the same thing. We're trying to get the 21. They're trying maybe to do some out large bid stuff. It's just trickier with D2 because we don't have as many teams. It was an easier sell with D3 because there's so many. Like I said, there's north of 130 now. It's crazy. But as D2 continues to grow, I think you'll see the brackets grow. It's just you want it instantly, but it's always baby steps every year, unfortunately.
Yep.
So we always see D2, D3, like we've been talking about. We see kids that have great seasons that don't go to nationals, or they go to nationals and they go 0-2. And
Mhm.
us as wrestlers, we want to measure our season based on the hardware we bring home. But that's a perfect world. Sometimes that doesn't happen. How do you have those conversations with your athletes, and how do you get them to measure their success and not base it on medals?
Yeah, I mean, as a program and as a coach, I always tell my guys, you guys are not judged by your results. You're not judged by your wins or losses. It's how you carry yourself, it's how you compete, it's how you train, it's how you are in the classroom, it's how you're within your community on campus. It's how you build your character through 4 years or 5 years, how long you compete, and how you're going to go out in the real world. Yes, it stings. Yes, we all want the same goal. We want to win every time out there. But if you carry yourself the right way, one, good things will happen, and two, you'll just come out the other side brighter because you learned a lot. With me as a coach, I failed a ton. I have a ton of failures as a student athlete. I have a ton of failures as a coach, but where I'm at today is because of my failures. And I think, we kind of preach that as a program that you live and you learn. You get back up and you just keep working. And I think, talking with our guys, we do a really good job with training and making sure our guys are peaking at the right time. That way they know they have everything in front of them to achieve their goals. But like you said, sometimes, they fall short. But if you work as hard as you can and you trust the process and you do everything in your power and you still come up short, then you really can't hold your head down. I mean, college wrestling, like I said, it is especially the D2 and D3 levels, it is extremely hard to qualify for nationals, let alone placing there. So, if you're stepping on the line, you got a lot to be proud of. College wrestling is hard. It is hard. And I think we preach that a lot. And the guys within our program know they're appreciated, and I think that goes a long way.
Coach, I appreciate that mindset. I wish I would have had someone like you tell me that when I was wrestling. It took me about a decade after wrestling to kind of realize that you did pretty good, man. And you have like you said, you learn a lot of life lessons. And I've said this all the time on the podcast. My high school coach used to say ad nauseum to the point where I'd roll my eyes. This sport is going to teach you lessons you're going
Yeah.
to carry with you for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
now, as an older man, I'm like, he was right. He
Yeah.
was right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, the famous saying, what Dan Gable said, once you wrestle, everything in life is easier. And I'm kind of seeing that now, as a coach. But it goes a long way. I think if you have the right mindset, I think that helps you actually achieve your goals. If you're putting too much pressure on yourself, if you're thinking like this is life or death situation, like this is end all be, like you're not going to achieve it. You got to wrestle free. You got to go out there wrestle loose. And I think we try to have fun within our program. We do a lot of cool things. I mean, we warm up every day with a game, some capacity every day. Just, we want to make sure that, they're loose, they're having fun. And then, we have great practices after that because, you actually get a good sweat in with the game and they get after it. It's great to see. So I think just stuff like that helps us in a lot of ways.
We're warming up with some pickleball sometimes.
No pickleball.
No
We
pickleball.
a lot of handball. We played some kickball. The big one now, it's kind of like ultimate football. We call it Falcon ball. You get like the three steps. You have to touch the ball to the wall to score, and the guys seem to really like that, kind of stuck, and that's what they're kind of doing now. Some dodgeball. I think every wrestling coach across the country can tell you some games they play. Spike ball is a big one as well. It's just important to do because, like I said, college wrestling's so hard. It's so difficult to do. And if you're just grinding every day, that's going to lead to the burnouts. That's going to lead to kids quitting. That's going to lead to not having retention. And then you're kind of resetting every year, trying to bring in kids every year. And then it's tough. If you keep kids along the way, that's how you build your program.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because as a high school coach, I have such a hard time with letting kids play games for warm up because I just hear my pops in the back of my head talk
Right.
about you're gonna sprain your ankle, you're gonna get hurt,
Yeah.
you got to warm up properly. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm always like, put the frisbee away or like let's just do some drills.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I mean, definitely, over the years we had some injuries with the game, and then sometimes you're like, oh, dang, we should just warmed up earlier today. But I think it helps with our growth as a program, just to stay loose and have fun. And like I said, college wrestling from October to March, and in most schools, their preseason starting in August. So
Mhm.
your kids are busy from August to March. You got to kind of mix it up. You got to find ways to keep it loose and fun.
Coach, we spoke a couple times about all the great wrestling in West Virginia. What's the pitch? You got a kid looking at all the other D2 schools. What's the pitch for Fairmont State?
So for me when I recruit, it's really just the whole picture with the school. Like I said, we're in a great location. It's a great academic school within the state. And within the state itself, like I said, with West Liberty and Glenville being so good, kids sometimes coming into those programs they have to redshirt or maybe sit a couple years. With us, it's open season, open competition every year. Even like our returning All-American, he'll wrestle off to start the next year. I think having that open competition and kids seeing that they can compete right away is really what draws them in. And we kind of built from there. And we do a really good job of developing everyone. So we do a lot of tournaments. We enter the whole team. College wrestling is great in that way where you can compete all your guys, even if you're third, fourth, fifth string, you can wrestle in a tournament. And we try to do a lot of tournaments and a lot of team bonding and team building stuff to keep everyone on board. But we, I tell them, we're a great location. We're doing a lot of good things. We're doing things the right way. I think people are starting to see that, and that's why our recruiting class this year is almost 20 strong. And people are excited to be a Falcon and get ready for the future of this program.
Coach, you said you've had some learning experiences as a wrestler and as a coach that you learned from to make you a better coach. Is there anything as a coach that kind of stands out and at the time or looking back you might cringe, but now you know you're a better coach because of that experience?
I think, for me, for one, like it's different as you're an assistant coach to a head coach. So that transition a little bit is a little different. Like it's like when you're an assistant coach, you can kind of focus on a few individuals. Like when I was at Waynesburg, I was very hands-on with our national champ. I worked out with him a lot. When I started being a head coach, you have to really gauge the whole room. You can't really just focus on that one weight class. And that's why having good assistant coaches, as I learned, is very important. And I was, very blessed to have Ferens, who he now actually at West Liberty now coaching. And then now two-time national champ just came in this year to help me as well. Cole Lay is his name. He was at West Liberty. He's from Fairmont originally. He came in to help, and he's been a great coach and has helped with a lot of our success. So I think just having, divvying up, like not having everything on my shoulders and having my assistants do a lot more has helped in a lot of ways. As an assistant coach, you're doing so much. So just seeing that has helped. And then just, being a leader, sometimes you got to be strong and you got to, tell them how it is. I never really did that as an assistant coach. I was always like, just kind of piggybacking off what the head coach said. Well, when you're the head coach, it's all on you from top to bottom. And I think I've learned that over the years, and it's come a long way within our culture and our standard within the program. Because then now we have upperclassmen that have really seen that standard and are going to keep doing that. So I think just, I'm a pretty, outgoing, personal person. But sometimes, when it gets down to nitty gritty, you got to be tough on the guys. And I think I've gotten better with that over the years as the years have gone on.
Coach, who gets to do the expense reports?
The expense reports,
Who gets that
unfortunately,
job?
unfortunately, I have to do
You
that
still got to
still.
do those?
I got all the paperwork still. Yeah, it's just like
Okay.
Fairmont State. Cole is just part time.
Mhm.
So if they're just part time, I want them to be focusing on the wrestling and the
Gotcha.
guys. And as a head coach, I'm full time, so that's everything falls on me. Now they do help in some capacity with recruiting or little things like that. But yes, the receipts, I do all that stuff. And I don't look forward to that every month, but it's just part of the job.
Yeah, seems like that's a common consensus amongst the coaches. They either
Yeah.
hate doing it or they give it to someone else.
Right. Yeah. 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 If I could give it to someone else, I probably would. But,
Yeah.
you got to make sure it's done right. And, we do have two great athletic secretaries at our school that help in a lot of ways too. So very lucky with that. But yeah.
All right. Coach, I got one last one for you. I know you mentioned your brothers at Stevens. Obviously, you guys are pretty close. You still do the podcast.
Yeah.
Is he sharing any of the Jersey guys with you? Or is he trying to keep that to himself? Does he say, "Hey, you might want to look at this
He
guy"? Or that
definitely
guy?
he definitely likes keeping the Jersey guys to himself, which I understand. I mean, it's tough. Like I said, I love New Jersey wrestling, New York wrestling. It's tough to get those kids, that far down south when there's great options. In New York, you have all the SUNY schools plus other D1 schools. In New Jersey, there's outside of Stevens, there's TC&J, who's very good. Centenary's always had a good program. Felician's a startup now. So New Jersey has great, stuff like that. And also Jerry Bowen, he's getting them all the guys to Millersville as well. So Kutztown does actually a pretty good job snagging some guys across the border as well, and not too far. So I would love to get some New Jersey, New York guys, but I'm a realist, so I got to kind of target where I know I can get these kids. But no, yeah, me and my brother, we have a great relationship. We pretty much talk every day in some capacity, whether it's wrestling or just life in general. I mean, he's a father now with two kids. I have a kid who's about to be 4, and very blessed to have that relationship and someone that I know I can talk to all the time. I mean, pretty much anyone in my family will pick up the phone whenever I call. My dad's was a longtime coach and a great mentor to a lot of athletes that kind of led our brothers, me and my brothers down this path. My other brother is the assistant athletic director of student athlete development at Robert Morris University. So a very sporty, athletic family.
That's awesome.
We just love sports, and we're very blessed, to have, this kind of life, and we're excited to kind of mold the future for some of these kids.
That's awesome that all three of you guys are in college athletics.
Yeah, there was actually a pretty. I'll text it to. I think Jimmy. I think I was texting with you. You said I'll send it to you. There's a really cool story in our local newspaper back home about it. You don't see it often, and we kind of just been blessed with a lot of great mentors and resources throughout our lives, and we kind of just roll with it, and we're excited to be where we're at in our professions.
That's awesome. And I do think there are probably some New Jersey kids that love the great outdoors. So we just got to find the right sections in New Jersey to get you the right kids.
Right. I've been close on a few for sure. I just I got to make sure it's the right situation academically, and make sure they flourish.
Yep.
And then hopefully we have one kid, it leads to another, and then how the pipeline goes, it just keeps growing from there.
There's definitely hunters in New Jersey, so
I love that. That's great.
Find them in the Pine Barrens.
Hey, come on down to West Virginia. We got great stuff down here.
Down in the Pine Barrens, or maybe up in Northwest Jersey, up near Peaburg and some of those schools up there. I'm sure there's some kids that love the mountains.
Yeah, I know in New York too, upstate. I mean, once you get out of Long Island to New York City, I mean, it's a great hunting and fishing state for sure.
No doubt.
Coach, you're a head coach. Your brother's a head coach. You both have children. How do you manage to have time for a podcast?
Oof, it is very tough. We're very lucky with the wives we have for sure. Very supportive. Actually, my brother's wife is the associate strength and conditioning coach at Rutgers, so she's fully aware of what it takes. She was a soccer player in college, student athlete, so she's fully aware of what it takes, and just great supporters. And then my wife, I met at Waynesburg University. She still works at Waynesburg University. Big wrestling fan, very supportive and appreciative of what I do. I couldn't do what I love to do if it wasn't for her. Her family's pretty close down here. They help us a ton, watching the kid and being supportive. So that goes a long way as well, having that. And then, just time management, balancing things, know when you have a little time just to do what you want to do and have some fun. I think that helps a lot. Just kind of taking a step back and just doing a podcast of instead of recruiting or fundraising or doing expense reports, like you said, just taking an hour out of your day and just talking some wrestling. And like I said, we've had great support with our podcast, so I think that helps us. Like, all right, we got to get content out there. We have fans, so I think it's kind of goes from there. But having a lot of support from everyone has really helped us over the years.
For anyone listening to this podcast that can't get enough wrestling podcasts, do you have any, 3, 5 episodes that you suggest? Hey, go check these out.
For D3 Nation,
Yes, sir.
oh man, we've had a ton of great guests on the show. Jim Miller was one of our first ones. He's a wrestling legend, great speaker. He started that Wartburg dynasty.
Do it
Uh,
anyway.
yes, he has a book. Uh, he was great. I really enjoyed the episode with Coach Yetzer, and we have a good relationship. He's the new head coach at Roanoke, doing really good things there. Has a great, he coached Division I, wrestled Division I under Coach Flynn. He's part of that coaching tree. He actually worked with Coach Roby, who was at Virginia Tech a lot. He was another great guest on there. We had Riley Fever on there, 4-time national champ from Wabash. But man, there's a ton. If you just go through, I think we're almost 130 episodes in. There's so many, but those really kind of stick out to me. Just kind of hearing their stories and their perspectives on the sport have actually helped me in a lot of ways. That podcast is, for the fans, but it's also kind of for me. I'm still a young head coach, and I'm, with those questions and hearing their answers, I always kind of take a little bit something from it, and it's definitely gone a long way.
Who's doing the clips? Who's editing? Who's booking the guests?
So we both kind of book guests. We do it through email or people reach out to us to get on there. And my brother is the main audio person. We just do audio. We do Zoom like you guys, but it's strictly just the audio. So it's a little bit easier just to kind of get it out there. People have told us, oh, we got to get clips and we got to get on Instagram more. We don't have that much free time. It's something we've talked about. We want to try and do a better
Got
job. I kind
expense
of
reports
actually,
to do.
yeah, I seen your guys' content and how it looks on Instagram, and it's actually crazy. Instagram, I think, with podcasts and content's like the number one thing right now. With X and Facebook, there's just so much spam and ads. And I think Instagram has been kind of one of the cleaner ones. So it's something we're going to try and build off of. But yeah, it's a lot as a college head coach, and being a dad. So, but we're always looking for improvements and growing and stuff. But yeah, we do a really good job of helping each other out. But yeah, my brother does a great job with, getting our episodes out there.
Well, Coach, I must say it's pretty impressive getting Wrestling Podcast of the Year, and you're just putting it out on audio. There's no clips. I'm a little envious. I'm not gonna lie, but that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just with that, me and my brother, obviously, kind of like you guys have great chemistry, so that goes a long way. But I think just getting the guests that we've gotten, it's been a star-studded list. So I think that's been going a long way. And you guys are getting great guests too. And honestly, like I said, I didn't even know it was a thing until we got an email one day about it, and then next thing we beat out Flow Wrestling and all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. I think it's great, not just for ourselves, but for D3 Wrestling that, people are checking out. And I think we just do a good job too. We don't just try to promote ourselves. We try to promote D3 Wrestling. And I think that's what Jason Bryan actually said in his when he announced the winners, how we do a good job of just talking about D3 Wrestling. And sometimes when you can kind of overlook it, and you can talk about yourself or your program a lot. And well, for me, it's easy because we're a D2 program. I mean, I sometimes talk about, hey, we see D3 teams, we're at D3 tournaments, but nothing crazy like that. So I think it's something, the greatest thing about it, with all the resources and technology tonight, anyone can do a podcast. If you have a passion, do it. Really just do it. I think kind of like what you guys said, go for it. And I think COVID was a big step in the right. We were so bored. We had nothing to do. We always talked wrestling, and there's always something we want to do. And now look where you're at. So you just never know. And just got to put your head down, work, and get after it.
Coach, I got one last one for you before we get in the Final Four. Has there been or will there be in the future a Fairmont State Stevens Tech dual meet?
Definitely, definitely. It's in the works. It's tough because we're not around the block from each other. But we definitely are definitely going to try and do that at some point in our careers. We haven't done it head coach to head coach yet. He was an assistant at Stevens. I was an assistant at Waynesburg, and we've had 2 dual meets. Also some individual matchups over the year. In the 2 dual meets, Stevens beat Waynesburg twice. So I got some work to do to catch up to that. But yeah, Stevens, very, very good program. They're always top 15. They do a great job of coaching up their guys, developing their guys. And I think it's great. I think it's great for the sport. I mean, over the years, you've seen brother to brother matchups individually or coaches, and it's just great for promotion and great for the sport in general. So something we're definitely in the works about for sure.
Well, when it happens, Airey Bros is going to be there to cover it.
I like it. Well, definitely. I don't know how far are you guys from Hoboken?
Well, pretty far. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, and Jimmy's in Lake Mary, Florida. But we're originally from Point Pleasant, which is probably about an hour, maybe less than an hour.
All right. Well, yeah, I think if we do, it will be during like a holiday. If you're home for the holidays, I'll definitely let you know for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Final Four, Rich?
Let's do it.
All right. Coach, are you a coffee drinker?
Not as much as you would think. I'm more energy drink guy. If I do drink coffee, a lot of cream and sugar for me.
All right. Are you drinking energy drinks daily?
No, really just during the season when we travel or compete a lot. I drink a lot of Monster Energy. I actually just got on the Celsius is pretty good. Celsius is pretty good. I like those. Anything to give me a little extra tick helps.
Right on.
But yeah, I know a lot of my coaches are, black coffee drinkers or they have their niche. But yeah, more of an energy drink guy.
Okay. Coach, do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Gennaro Bonaventura?
No, I mean, being a dad now, my routine is making sure my son's ready for the day. So, he's getting me up bright and early now and just getting my day started off like that, making sure he's getting ready for daycare, wherever he has to go. And then I'm up and ready for the day. And, I attack each day the same. I make sure I have my goals set for each day. It's a little different, obviously, in the preseason and off season during the season, but I think my son keeps me on my toes, and I think that goes a long way. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
Not a big reader. Definitely not a big reader. I do like podcasts. I'm going to start listening to your guys' podcast more. I actually listened to the Coach Cottrell episode. Was the bowling one out yet? I don't think it was.
Yeah, it's out.
Okay. Yeah, I got to check out that one. And, I listen to Flo a lot, pretty much anything wrestling wise. I do, love all sports. So I listen to, Mad Dog Sports Radio a lot. And then I like any kind of music, if upbeat, anything like that. And then no, nothing crazy though. Just, stuff. I love all sports. I'm excited to watch the Knicks game tonight. Big Knicks fan. I'm excited to see them doing good, and I love all sports. The only sport I really don't follow is soccer. Other than that, I'm usually following it.
All right.
So, Coach, we are not big sports guys. We're strictly running and wrestling and some UFC. But I will say, Mad Dog. I will listen to Mad Dog just for that nostalgia because I'll, just being in the truck with my dad, listening to him talk about the Giants. So I can listen to him just talk just as background noise.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you guys are from Jersey originally, you guys have to remember Mike and Mike. That was that was the big show over there. Now they're doing well. The one Mike's kind of retired. I think he does a podcast still, and then Mad Dog still has his channel. And then Mike and Mike in the morning, before it was Get Up, I used to listen to that a lot too. So, but yeah, I could talk sports or watch sports all day.
All right. Coach, last one to close out. It's a lighthearted one. Could be maybe a food, something unique in your area down in West Virginia. Maybe it's a beverage, craft beer. You mentioned pickleball and golf. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
A guilty pleasure. Um, no, I mean, within our team, there's like an all you can eat sushi place, I guess. We like hitting that up and eating sushi. I guess that's one of I do like sushi and steak. I kind of like that a lot, but no, I usually stay pretty busy, even in the off season, getting ready for my camps and clinics and stuff. So I would say that, yeah, I do enjoy my food. I like eating
Okay.
for sure.
When I hear sushi, the last place I ever think of is West Virginia, though.
I know it's funny, but there's actually some good sushi joints over here. I'm right with you, but there's this place by the school called Kumo, and the guys, always go there. We go there with recruits. It's very good. You'll be surprised. There's some good sushi spots down here.
All right, I'll put it on the list, Jim.
Whoop, got it. Coach, I am so happy that Coach Bolin put you on our radar and we had this conversation tonight. I can't wait to watch Fairmont State in the years to come and everything you got going on with the program. Thanks for your time tonight, sir.
Yeah, like I said, thanks Jerry for even thinking about inviting me on, and thank you guys for following up and getting me on. I always love talking about wrestling and sports and anything Fairmont State. So this is great. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, and like Jimmy and I say, we do this all the time because it gives us more teams to root for, and it brings us back into the sport, and we find ourselves watching other divisions, not just what everyone else is doing with D1. I was watching NAIA track and field and Division II and Division III track and field this weekend at the national championship. So we'll have our Fairmont State banner on the wall. We'll be rooting for you guys next year as well. Looking for you at nationals.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks. You guys have a good night. I really appreciate having me on.
You too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Coach Gennaro Bonaventura, from Fairmont State University. Tomorrow night, we'll be back with Coach Dan Roy from Southern Regional High School down in Manahawkin, New Jersey. We're talking short conference wrestling.